slam riffs and like beatdown and shit, like it's all kind of coming back more and more like thoroughly in music as far as like aggressive and like heavy music goes. And kids like want that low tuning fight riff. You know what I mean? Like they want to hear that. They want gutter rolls. And I'm not bashing hardcore because I love hardcore. But what I'm trying to get at is like you can put a slam band on a hardcore show and it's going to go over just fine.
Real quick before getting into today's episode, I just wanted to mention a few things. Going to do this as quick as possible, I promise. First things first, we have a Discord server if you're not already a part of it. It's the best place to get all the news and updates about the podcast, but it's also a thriving community of people just talking about MySpace, deathcore, metalcore, all the fun stuff. Also, we do these podcast recordings live on Twitch every single Wednesday, 6 p.m. EST. If you want the fully unedited, unfiltered versions of these, as well as being able to be a part of the conversation via Twitch chat, it's a fun time. Come check it out. Last thing I want to plug, we recently launched a Patreon. We finally did it. People have been asking us for a way to support the podcast, and yeah, this is our way to do so. So if you want behind the scenes posts, if you want to be the first to know about upcoming guests and events, if you want early access to episodes, if you don't want platform ads or no YouTube ads, stuff like that, Patreon is the way to do so. We also have a supporter-only Discord chat, as well as these group calls that Yan and I do every second Friday. So any of that interests you, or if you simply just want to support the podcast, I'll be leaving a link to the Patreon in the description below, as well as the Discord and the Twitch. So enough yapping. Thank you so much, and enjoy this episode. Welcome to episode 63 of the Brutality podcast. My name is Dome, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Yan. And today we have the privilege of talking to Skyler of the band Cell. What's going on, my man? How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Happy to have you on. Happy we could finally connect. I know, we talked quite a few months ago, actually, and it just didn't line up exactly back then. And then you guys left on tour for eternity for what it feels like. You guys have been pretty fucking busy this year. So how's let's kind of start there. I mean, you guys recently did a headline tour, which is pretty extensive too. It was a pretty long tour. You guys played a bunch of festivals recently. The Zayo tour, like, dude, it's been the year of Cell from my point of view. How's it been?
It's been sick, man. Yeah, the headlining tour was it was crazy because like, I started this band like 4 years ago, and now it finally just got its own like recognition, and having people like wait around and waiting to see us, that was really cool.
Turnouts look great too from the photos I've been seeing, at least. Like it seemed like people were showing up.
Oh yeah, it was very fucking sick for sure. The turnouts were really well. I got to meet a lot of people who were very, very hyped to be able to catch us, like, and hear some new stuff that we were playing and whatnot. And just going from like, and it was cool because like a lot of people that like in some of the areas that we were on like the tour that we did with like Spite and Body Snatcher, those kids came back out for like the Zayo tour, and then we did a tour with Mouth War and 10 to the Chest, and then we had another tour with our friends in Skin Ticket and Inside You and Agony. And then we had the headliners. So like it was just like that tour definitely was able to like set up those kids coming back out to catch us.
But, like, kind of like the rest of the year. And yeah.
But it was very cool, man. It was rewarding for sure.
Look, for what it's worth, I've seen, I was digging into a bunch of stuff this week. But specifically in terms of Cell and the touring you guys did this year, I saw a lot of comments being like, you guys stole the show. Like under a lot of different posts, under a lot of stuff. I think maybe people that didn't know who you guys were, or even people who did know, weren't necessarily expecting it to be like as good as it is live. So what's the, Now, what's the ethos behind the live show? Like from what I'm seeing, it looks fucking crazy, but what's the sauce?
I mean, so like one thing that I've noticed people are talking about now is like I do this thing because it's like it's a performance, like I'm taking all that anger and like aggression out that with everything that I write about and stuff, as is like the other guys too. But I'll spit at the crowd and people, which I get the controversy behind it because it is like kind of if I was standing in a crowd and someone like the vocalist spit on me, I'd be like, oh, what the fuck, but like
maybe not 2020 vibes, but
yeah, for sure. But like my biggest thing when we're working on a new set, man, like I don't like any silence between the songs. So like if the guy's got a tune or Cam breaks a stick or some shit, like there's always a sound clip being played. One thing that I'm really extensive on now, as far as like, because I operate all the sound clips and the 808 drops myself on a little pedal board.
Okay.
I want the fucking bass drops to like shake everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is one thing that I'm like really, really big on. And like, just, like when you're like setting up to like leave for a tour, like you kind of gotta be like, okay, well, what song are we going to start with? And what song do we want to end with? And because those are the two that like kind of bring everything to life, you know what I mean? And everything else in between is like, it's just like the placement of songs too. Like you really have to like, kind of key in on that. And I think for the sets that we have been playing, like we still play some of like the first shit that this band ever wrote from Sadistic Sounds of Suffering. So it's like, but now like we've changed a little bit of it. So like, there's just things that like you work on and you're like, oh, we can make this part sound even fucking crazier here.
Right.
One thing that I always liked about like deathcore bands and like even like hardcore bands when I was growing up was like calling people fucking names and shit. So I took that and ran with it for like my performance as far as being a frontman goes. So I'll call people like fucking pussies and shit like that. And then they come talk to us after and they're like hesitant to like approach us, and I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? How are you?
Yeah.
They're like, these guys
this guy isn't
nice.
that mean after all.
Yeah. So yeah, just like I think like the structure as far as of like the set being like what it needs to be to keep people entertained, because like there are bands out there that I've seen when I was younger that I was so drawn into them for the first like two songs, and then like the middle of the set just like slowed down, and like us being the group that we are, like we want it to be 100 miles per hour the entire fucking time,
How long was the headliner? Because that's usually where that distinction. It's easy to make a 20-minute set, be balls to the wall start to finish, but then once you have to perform 45, 50, 55 minutes, it's maybe a different game. So what about the headliner you guys did? Yeah.
Our headliner set was only like 27 minutes, but we played 10 songs.
Yeah.
Because all of our songs, like aside from like newer material, like all of them are like 2 minutes and some change, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's very fast. And sometimes like the tempo changes, like we try to slow it down and then it like goes into like a fucking, dun dun dun, like, so it just speeds it back up. And like, yeah, the headliner set was 27 minutes, but our record release set for the last EP that we put out, we had here at the VFW, which my friends in Backroom book out of. Mm-hmm. And that was like a 32 or 33 minute set. And that was one of the toughest fucking sets we've had to push through. Like for fucking real. It was crazy. But yeah, I like that it was like, because it felt long because we played so many songs, but it really fucking wasn't. You know what I mean?
It's just no breaks.
I'll be honest though, to me 30 minutes is completely fine. I don't know if it's because I'm getting a bit older or anything, but like when I see a show, it's like people are waiting kind of a long time before seeing the headliner, right? Like you're there. So for me, 30 minutes, if it was amazing, I don't I'm not feeling like, oh my God, there was missing like 20 minutes of the. If it's cool and it's a good 20 minutes, I'm gonna be super happy, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people. I preferred that than the opposite. The headliner is playing 2 hours and a half, and I'm kind of just like, I'm like, I don't want to sleep here.
I have
like,
no fun.
Yeah, it's just like
even an hour for me, especially look in the type of music that we listen to, right? Like I think like you're saying you want to go balls to the wall from start to finish. Like I imagine like people in the pit, you know, an hour into a fucking hardcore. So fuck that. At the end of the night, you know, on top of all the other bands. Like
yeah, exactly. That. So it's like, yeah, like that was like one thing that like I was talking to the guys about. Like we didn't want it to feel too fucking long, but we wanted it to be worth the wait. Yeah. You know, so it was like their Salt Wound, I'm pretty sure Salt Wound said they were on the entire tour with us. They had a 30-minute set, but it still felt so quick because their songs were like just straight to the fucking point too. So like that was really cool. And like I feel like normally like we would load in at fucking, you know, 2 or 3 o'clock, and then we do our sound check, we go eat dinner, we come back, show starting, and it would start at like 6 and it would be done by like 9 or 10. So like by the time we were loaded at back into the
my kind of vibe. my 35-year-old ass loves that.
No, but that's perfect though. But I had because we're talking about playing live and stuff like that. I'm guessing in the writing process, you probably have the shows in mind always, right? Because I'm listening to your music, and each part, there's no part in your music that you cannot headbang on. And basically everything you do, you're at the minimum like this. So my brain, I was just like, these guys, when they write, they have shows in mind the entire time. Am I wrong for that, or is that exactly?
No.
Okay.
Every time we're writing a song, like we are always singing about like how it's gonna the crowd is gonna respond to it live, how we're gonna feel playing it on a stage, and then you know just like because there are songs that like we have recorded that we don't play, you know, and that happens with every band. I feel like you'll have like those 1 or 2 songs that are like just fillers for an album, but a majority of the time, because we have our producer Connor, he plays a mugshot. And he works really well with like, I mean, he's been around us since we started. So it's like, he knows the kind of vibe that we have as far as like a band, and he helps correlate, you know, ideas that they'll be received well live as far as like the show and stuff goes. So yeah, that's definitely always something that is in the back of our heads when we're writing this stuff.
It makes a big difference to at least for me, you know, because I've seen a lot of different kinds of bands live, and it's fun when I'm always from the perspective of someone who maybe goes to a metal show for their first time. We keep forgetting that, but like when you play a show, there's some people there that maybe didn't hear that much. They went with friends or whatever, and you cannot go wrong when music is fun, and you can just at least, you know, vibe with like and I feel like slam and hardcore are big on that. Like, if it's blasting, not that I don't like blast beat, but like sometimes when it's blasting the entire time, you can tell people don't know what to do on that. They're just,
and like they'll like they get, you know, they get like not like necessarily, I wouldn't say like bored of it, but it's like, you know, you'll notice some people like kind of fade out to the back of the venue to go smoke a cigarette or grab another drink or something, you know, like you have to have, I mean, breakdowns. You got to have breakdowns, and it's got to be groovy, you know?
Look,
so,
I mean, I recently saw Vomit Forth for the first time, and like they stole the show simply because it was like stank face the entire time. Like everything was just like you know, and it was different than what the rest of the bands on the bill were, and you know they were one of the opening acts, but there's just something about like even if I wasn't like super familiar with them, like I had heard a few songs that I wasn't like the biggest fan necessarily going into it. I left completely sold. And it was 100% because they're like a live band first, like for sure. And it works so well live, right? And I think you guys have that similar kind of that similar kind of vibe. Like it's funny, you were even talking about not wanting to have like silence between songs. You guys even do it on the albums, right? Like on the EP, yep. It's like samples going on in between all the songs and stuff. So
yeah,
you can tell like that even that is kind of like calling back to the live show.
Oh yeah, it's like, you know, I like Peeling's thing is like the goofy fucking funny ass samples, and like that shit is awesome. And like for us, like we kind of like every time like I'm like thinking of sound clips, like I want it to be like eerie, like I want you to feel like uncomfortable. You know, I want the sound clips to give you like this same feeling leading into the next song that's like, oh fuck, you know, and like kind of make you be like, what the fuck is next? You know, what are they about to do? So yeah, that's I love
the contrast
that
is there too, right? When the song does finally like kick in, it's like,
yes.
oh,
yeah.
And I was curious about something. I don't want to dive maybe to maybe skip steps or whatever, but like what I heard today in terms of music, and I'm sure we're gonna get to that. I told them immediately, I'm like, I'm hearing a hint of Demolisher, and it's a compliment, by the way, big compliment. I'm a huge fan of old school Demolisher. I don't know if you were listening to that, but even in terms of vocals, did you? And I was curious to know, was that kind of an inspiration, or it has nothing to do?
I mean, the one like biggest inspiration for me when I was like kind of finding my voice when I was a little bit younger was Storm from Last 10. Like he was like a very, very big inspiration on like kind of what I wanted to sound like. And like obviously when I started doing vocals, I was young, so like I couldn't adjust my voice to like do that shit just yet, but once I was able to, I was like,
it's funny because you listen to like that first Omen track, and
oh my god,
and I was okay. You look completely fucking different now. For starters, but the voice really changed over time, and it wasn't that far into it. I was looking at stuff from like a live show, like maybe a year later, and even then, you know, you could tell you had like really developed a particular style that was more you or whatever. But it is like I fully see it what you're saying. Like when you were younger, there's just you weren't able to reach that kind of whatever you've got going on now.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy that you're bringing up Omen because I saw that you guys like made that post today, and I hadn't seen some of those fucking pictures in like so long, dude. It's crazy. Yeah, which I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit, but it when we did that last EP, I felt like I kind of like found what I wanted to sound like as far as like a vocalist. Like I like locked in on it, and then we did the first Cell EP, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one at all. Like but that was like my vocals on that. I was like, I kind of felt like hot shit. I was like, this is exactly what I wanted to sound like this whole fucking time, you know? So
no, but I was finding it out because for years, and Dom knows how much I love Demolition and stuff like that. It's a very specific, and it's not in, by the way, you have your thing. It's not the same thing, but it's a tone we don't hear much, right? Like the what I'm talking about is pretty rare. Like it's been years that I'm kind of looking for that.
It's the deathcore bands that were always very hardcore. Yeah. You know, the very hardcore driven, pissed off vocalist type bands that had the
sounds mean, like
right. It's the pissed off side to it, you know, like you can feel the emotion through like the gutturals, you know,
exactly.
Kind of like you're about to fight type thing, type kind of vocals, you know, like, and it has really like a layer of heaviness in deathcore. It's different. It's less kind of Lord of the Rings stuff, and it's more like. You know, badass type thing, and I'm here for it. So I was
I'd be curious because I feel like, you know, we're talking about like deathcore and stuff. I mean, you guys are I find such a cool in between metal and hardcore in terms of like the style of music that you guys play. And I always find it cool because I think bands like yours will fit well on a deathcore bill, but would also play a hardcore fest, and that would work too. Like, how is that for you guys? Like, how do you guys kind of see the music, and do you have a preference in like style of show that you guys play? Because I know over the years you've played in both scenes, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, the way that I explain it is always like, Cell is a bunch of deathcore or hardcore kids that played deathcore. So it was like I've always like I grew up in the hardcore scene back here in Oklahoma, so like that's what I've always been around. But I was going to, I remember like seeing fucking Spite and Body Snatcher when I was younger because those bands have been around for a long fucking time, and it's never. I mean, to be honest, like it's never been an issue. Like, and I think now is like the time that it's becoming more like accepting because like slam riffs and like beatdown and shit, like it's all kind of coming back more and more like thoroughly in music as far as like aggressive and like heavy music goes. And it like kids like want that low tuning fucking like fight riff. You know what I mean? Like they want to fucking hear that. They want gutter rolls. And I'm not saying anything like I'm not bashing hardcore because I fucking love hardcore, but it's like what I'm trying to get at is like you can put a slam band on a hardcore show and it's gonna go over just fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
we saw Peeling Flesh at a few hardcore fests this year, and it was like fit right in.
Makes
you know,
sense.
like,
they made sense for that shit. Not to mention they're fucking huge now. You know,
yeah,
but,
which is crazy to see because they're
talk about this year's
heavy.
glow up, dude. It's insane.
Yeah. I remember Soto showing me those demos like right after his old band had stopped doing shit, and I was like, "This is fucking sick." And I didn't know. I've been friends with DeMontiel since I was a kid, and I did not know that motherfucker could make those noises ever.
Oh, okay.
Like ever. And then I find out he's the one doing vocals, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And like, I mean, it's fucking sick. So,
but you have a good point, though. I keep talking about that, but like, as much as I love the groove and the vibes of hardcore, what always kind of takes me out is I wanted the vocals to be heavier. I wanted the vocals to be more good, more metal, maybe, right?
Right.
And hardcore has a very specific. I get why it's like that because it's really tough and just like it makes sense. But as someone who loves vocals, and I'm a vocalist too, so like I want to hear those nasty, as you said, like gutturals. So like the mix of both, I feel like is why we have a hard time kind of defining if it's hardcore. It's because it's right. It's in the middle. You have like the heaviness of deathcore and death metal, but you have the groove of hardcore, which to me is the best of. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. I mean, like for us, as far as like when the genre talk comes up, I'll like identify us as a deathcore band, but I mean, typically like I'm just like we're a metal band because like that's just like kind of straight to the point, and it's like because there are people out there who will be like, well, you have this element to you, and then you have this element, but you're doing these types of vocals, but your guitar sounds like this. And I was just like, yeah, dude, we're just metal. It's just heavy as fuck, and that's all I want it to be.
Especially when you write, right? I feel like you don't want to limit yourself thinking, oh yeah, but we're that kind of band. Like it needs to be what it is, like right? When you write together, it's like I don't think it would serve you to be like, oh yeah, but maybe that's too much deathcore for the like if you vibe with something and it works, you just you do it, you know?
Exactly. Like, and that's like another thing is like, we all love like fucking 3 Days Grace and Breaking Benjamin and bands in that kind of realm, and like there's been talks of doing like a clean song, because we kind of like, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but like on the last album and The Unbearable Form, the title track, there is like a chorusy part to it where I'm just like yelling over it, but then going into writing new material, I was like, I want to do something like this. So we'll see what happens with it.
I mean, the last two songs on the EP are kind of a bit different than what you guys have typically done. I feel like that one that you're talking about specifically in there. So you guys kind of took that into the new material, being like, hey, this is something we want to explore more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't like touch too much on it, but like the turnout for it, like it's yeah. I could just say yeah.
And you want to know what's crazy though? Like you mentioned 3 Days Grace and Breaking Benjamin, which both, by the way, are in my playlist that I listen all the time. I love both. Like I'm never gonna stop listening to Breaking Benjamin, I don't think. And same thing for 3 Days Grace. All those bands that we had back in the days were just like so
the good old Halo montage days.
I mean, the first it's the Xbox original era, right? Like just like the games with like ATM stuff and whatever fighting.
Yeah.
It was just the best. And I realized that it's not rare for a deathcore or a slam fan. Like we basically almost all like these things. So you could be surprised of like you guys releasing something in that vein. I wouldn't be surprised if people just fucks with it and they're like, that's awesome. Because we all kind of love these
grew
things.
up on this too, you know? I think a lot of us kind of forget that, but it's kind of like we're all kind of from the same, you know, the same kind of origins, right?
We all are cut from like the same cloth as far as like music taste and stuff. So yeah, man. I mean, we'll see what happens. There might be a clean song on new material. Who knows?
I mean, as like the only, we keep saying that, but like the important part is that you enjoy what you do. You're real fans at the end of the day. Just want you to do whatever you really want to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, we're people who are like, we're gonna write what we enjoy playing, and like if it resonates with people, fuck yeah. If it doesn't resonate with you, fuck yeah. That's your opinion, you know. But we're still gonna, I mean, you just kind of, it's always got to be like, obviously you got to think about what your fans are gonna enjoy too, but at the end of the day, like it's your art, it's your craft.
Hey, you're the motherfucker playing the songs live every night at the end of the day. So you better like your songs.
I'm like, fuck this song, dude. Fuck.
So it's like the one song you don't enjoy playing that becomes viral, of course.
It's the one that everybody likes for sure.
Took 4 minutes to write, and you're like, okay, let's see, and people are just like all vibing to it.
Just blows the fuck up.
Just a quick interruption to talk to you guys about the sponsor of today's episode, Indie Merch Store. Indie Merch Store is your #1 spot for officially licensed band merch, and they're currently doing a huge sale. It is their winter sale. They've got over 500 products on sale right now, with bands ranging from Aborted and Hell Followed With, Whitechapel, Signs of the Swarm, Suicide Silence, all the good bands. Some of this merch is up to 80% off, so do check that out. Also, if that was not enough, we have a code for 10% off that actually stacks on top of the already existing sale. So if you guys use code Brutality at checkout, it saves you guys another 10% off, and it helps support the show. So big thanks to Indie Merch Store for sponsoring this episode. And now back to the show.
By the way, so far, are you pretty good at guessing what's going to do well live, or is it always kind of a surprise since you started?
I mean, like it for like us, like I'm like a majority of the time, if we like write a song and we're all like fucking smiling and we're soaked on it, chances are everybody else is going to feel the same way. But we've never written a song where it was like, nah, like this fucking sucks.
It's all tough as fuck. So, you know,
ultimately. Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, again, like I've said, like we like writing shit that's just kind of like straight to the point. And we all like, we do know like what our fan base enjoys the most as well, which is just us doing our fucking thing anyways. So yeah, man. I mean, I don't think there's like ever a song that we've like put out that like we thought nobody was gonna like. There is a song that our drummer and me really like playing, and our guitarist fucking hates it. and that's the first song that Cell ever wrote. But I mean, that's a given, you know. Yeah. So
no, but
that's funny.
Another thing that's good with your music, I feel like there's a big, of course you can hear in the sound that you guys are like evolving, trying new things, but like there's still a consistency, right? Like one of your fans watching your shows, you're not one of the bands that you're just like waiting for that one song. I feel like they're still gonna have fun the entire, if they like what you're doing in general, they're gonna like it. It's not. We've seen bands that it's like you're just waiting for that song. Like you're waiting for that song to play.
Worse than that, you're just waiting for the breakdown within the song.
Exactly.
It's like not even the full song.
But then we do a fucking Uno reverse and we start the song with the beat. You know what I mean? With the beat down spot.
No, you stop it before the breakdown. You just never play it.
And then it's just the next song.
That's it. So I feel like there's that, right? Like you cannot go wrong if it's like, I feel like you have the kind of music that if you enjoy, like if you vibe with some of it, you're gonna enjoy yourself the entire time. Yeah. You know, live.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's another good element. As I said earlier, you cannot go wrong if the whole time you're like without even thinking, you're just you cannot go wrong. Like try telling people you're not having a good time while you're doing that. It's pretty pretty difficult. So
yeah, for sure.
That's my take.
I'd want to I want to talk about touring in a Forerunner, but I want to dig back even a little deeper before that. Talk to me about Pray for Plagues and Bring Me the Horizon and getting into deathcore.
Oh man. So the first concert, like the first like non-Christian rock concert that my mom ever took me to was I'm trying to remember. It was Shinedown. I believe 3 Days Grace was on that tour as well.
That's sick though.
My Darkest Days. I don't know if you guys remember them.
I don't know them.
Yep.
They did like that fucking like I can't remember what that song is called. And there was one other band on it, and I was like probably like 11, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to play shit like this. And then I was at my cousin's house. I remember like we had just gotten done like skating with some of our friends outside of his apartment. We go inside and he was like, I got to show you this band that my friend showed me. And it was Pray for Plagues by Bring Me the Horizon. And then I was like, he showed me that and I was just stuck to it. Like I started like it was like, I don't know what it was that caught me, but I just loved like the noises.
The
you know what I mean?
energy
Like I was just drawn to it. Yeah. And yeah, that was kind of oh fuck. You guys are making me nervous.
You dropped us.
It sucks having to use fucking wired headphones. Yeah, after that, dude, like I was like, that's what I want to do. And then
did you kind of go into like trying to find other bands like that? Like did you kind of like get into deathcore at that point, or was it just that one band? And
so it was mainly like Bring Me the Horizon. I can't really recall like too many bands from that time, just because I was like, as a kid, like I was going through like a fuckload with like my family and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I remember like my first show. So the librarian at my middle school, her son played in a Christian metal band from out here, and she knew that I liked that music, and her and my grandma were like kind of friends. So she told my grandma about it, and then I went, and it turned out that the guy who played guitar in that band was my grandmother's neighbor's older brother, and I was really tight with his brother.
Okay.
So like this whole time I had been around him and his family, and I never knew that he played in a fucking band. And so like I made like friends there, and then I started getting into like hardcore. And so I remember like I was in this one band with some friends when I was like 14, and I saw like Knocked Loose at a skate park out here, and they played to like fucking 15 people. And that's fucking crazy saying that now, considering they just fucking played Madison Square Garden. But yeah, and then I kind of jumped on the bandwagon. Like I found like Last 10. I remember my friend showing me Elijah. That band was fucking sick. Which I never like really like got too deep into them, but I remember like I remember like what they sound like, you know what I mean? And then I started getting more into like hardcore, and from there like I was a hardcore kid.
I mean, those were more like hardcore adjacent deathcore bands too. All the bands you just mentioned too. So it kind of all makes sense, right? It's like similar album anyways.
There was like another band Ricky Hoover, Suffocate, when Ricky Hoover was still
Oh
doing
my
that
I mean,
shit.
same thing.
I
Super
still
big on the
listen to
hardcore
that.
elements. Yeah.
That band
Still-
was fucking sick, bro. They were
Dude,
sick, dude.
I still
Um,
listen. It's still in my play. Like Suffocate now. Like sometimes people are like, what are your favorite bands?" And I'm still like Suffocate, and they're like, "Well, they're not." I know, but still,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then I started just kind of like making friends and playing music, and then now I'm here. And
It's interesting though.
Yeah,
But
it's crazy.
it's an interesting. It's the first time I hear someone kind of starting with deathcore and Perfor Plague and these things, and then going in like hardcore and stuff like that. And then because I was kind of in my mind when I heard your music and stuff, I was like, okay, probably started around like Waking a Cadaver, Brutal Death type thing, and then
Yeah.
they listen to like they love like Demolisher, Jerome stuff. In my mind, it was all like that, but like you have a very interesting
Like
kind of
switched.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's fairly rare. It's usually the opposite. I feel like people start with like hardcore and stuff, then they go into deathcore. So it might be part of why you have your own sound and voice and stuff like that is because you have an unusual kind of way of doing things as well.
Upbringing. Yeah. It's crazy that you bring up Waking the Cadaver because I didn't get familiar with that band until like 2 or 3 years ago.
I would
Yeah.
see you playing with them though. Like imagine
Dude,
a
that band
tour,
rips.
Waking, Peeling, you like something like that would sell.
It'd be
That would
fucked. It'd be fucked up. And they're starting to come back and play like more shows now too, which
Yes,
is
sir.
sick as fuck. So
And they're
Yeah.
so good live, man. They're one of those bands we're talking about being good live, and Waking just never dropped the ball. Like you look at their show, there's not like one phone, it's just like people going crazy the entire time, every time they play. It would
Yeah,
make
I believe
sense with
it.
you guys. It would. I'm gonna send that
we'll,
in the air.
we'll see, dude.
Manifest
Hopefully
it.
they hit us up. Yeah.
That would be sick.
So talk to us a bit about Omen and touring in the Forerunner, and then
Yeah, I wanna hear about that,
That's
yeah.
one thing, and then there's wrecking the Forerunner too. Those are like two things we gotta
You
touch on.
did research, bro.
Hey, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, so my grandma, well, first of all, crazy twist. I started Omen. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jason from Peeling Flesh. but-
Not specifically,
I don't
but
think-
yeah.
Yeah, so Omen was me, him, and one of our old friends. And Jason and I actually met because he like made beats for like rappers and stuff. And I didn't know that he could play guitar. And so I was like, I know this drummer, we should jam. I do vocals. And we started it in his fucking garage and started playing shows. And I remember like the first Omen show, I got arrested, so I was in juvie. and Jason and Jacob and our friend Kevin three-piece it, and Kevin just like improvised the set. And Jason was playing on like one of those tiny little like Line 6 amps.
Mhm.
Hey, I was talking to him about that the other day. It's fucking funny, but Omen started doing its own thing. That was a band that I like really tried to like push with for a long time because I started that. I was probably like 15, and it stopped being a thing when I was probably like 20 or 21. But I just, things happen. Bands don't always fucking work out. It's just a normal fucking thing. And I, at that time too, like I was like kind of working with like a bigger band. So it was like, I kind of primarily had to like put all of my focus into that. And then, yeah, but we'll shoot on to that here in a little bit. But yeah, so the Forerunner, that was my car that my grandma gave me. I had, I think it was a Dodge Caliber before that. And I ended up, it was just a piece of shit. So I like sold it or something. And then my grandma gave me her old Forerunner and got her new car. And yeah, I was like, we're going to take this fucking thing on tour. And the wreck was, I'm trying to remember when the wreck was.
How many dudes were you in the Forerunner?
It was just 4 of us.
Okay, were you guys
So
sleeping in it, or like always trying to
Yeah.
figure out a place to sleep?
I mean, we stayed with friends and stuff, but a majority of the time, like if we had a long drive, like we slept in there. So it would be like
Jesus Christ.
you do the driver, the
Yeah.
passenger, someone would be in the back seat sleeping, and then one of us would be in the very back.
Okay, like in
because
the trunk.
it had a trunk space, so it was like we just kind of made that a bed area.
Just
yeah,
fetal position for whoever's in the back.
I mean, just fucking curled up. You know what I mean? It sucks. But yeah, I mean, dude, we just wanted to tour. Like that was like the main thing, and like, you know, touring is a fucking grind in itself. And like not everybody has like the means to go out and just buy like a fucking brand new van or whatever. And I think at that time, like we were touring and making maybe like $100 a night or some shit. Like it wasn't anything crazy.
Barely paying food and gas, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like we were eating fucking.
It wouldn't be enough to pay for a rental even if you wanted to.
No. And like the trailer itself that we were renting from U-Haul was like already gonna fuck us. You know what I mean? So.
$20-$30 a day, but that's half the budget gone.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like I'm pretty sure the wreck was when we were on tour with Fortune's Fool from Colorado. They were in my 4Runner. We were driving, I believe, to the venue, and this car, like it was like standstill traffic, and our old drummer was driving, and this car just hit us hard as fuck, like trying to merge into the lane, and he dipped off. So we were just on the side of the fucking highway. Like I remember like a few of us getting out and like trying to like chase that car down because he was fucking leaving, and he got away. I mean, I'm not gonna chase this dude down the fucking highway, but we got it towed, and I don't remember how long it took for it to get fixed, but I know we were in Colorado for, I want to say like 4 days, and we it was just all fucked up.
Yeah, you guys aren't home. You guys aren't like, you guys are on tour. There's like people expecting you. You're just fucking stuck in Colorado type thing.
On top of that, the stress of like, how much is it gonna be, right? Because you're already tight with money. It's not like you're making a lot and you're like, okay, who cares? You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh my god, how are we paying? It's always expensive, right, to repair like cars and stuff. So
did that make it the both because you said the other band was with you guys too? Like was
so they had van troubles and their van like shit out on them. Okay. And so that's why they hopped in with us. And it was already no, dude. It was
those last few shows were not meant to happen. Yeah.
No. I can't remember if there were shows after or if we were just going home.
I think
which would be understandable.
What I saw was there was like 2 or 3 shows left after the wreck.
Yeah.
But,
so we probably if I remember correctly, I would assume we just were like, we can't make it. Sorry.
Yeah. But I mean, it is what it is. It's not like you guys can teleport there anyway.
That's a part of the reason why we love having those conversations so much, because sometimes people, they support a band, but they have no idea sometimes what you have to work with to make up for just to be there one show, right? So like when you have like of course, when you go and you see something like Bring Me the Horizon, they're pretty comfortable to go there, but like they're probably doing well. But like if you go and you watch like an upcoming band or like kind of middle range band, it's hard to describe, but I'm sure you get what I mean. Like people don't know I think like the grind and everything. When I was 15, I keep saying that, but like in my mind, bands like Suffocate were like in the big tour bus, and it was like the life and everything. Like when I was 15, I was just like, oh my god, they made it. It's crazy.
$100 guarantees on a 50 cap venues.
Dude. Like,
in my mind, I'm just like, they're living the life, and next thing you know, they're like are we
2 bands in a 4Runner.
Dude. Yeah, there was another time. Are you guys familiar with Cold Shoulder from up in Canada?
Yeah.
So I've fucking great dudes. But we were on tour with them, and we were driving through a place called Weed, California, and we stopped at a rest stop, and it was cold as fuck too. But we stopped at a rest stop to use the restroom, just kind of get out and stretch. We get back in the 4Runner and tried starting it, and it turned over, and when I put it in drive to take off, it just kind of like died, right? And so we're like, and this was also probably like a year later too. Like it was a little after.
Miraculously got it back to working.
Yeah.
But
We got it fucking
pushing
home.
its luck.
Yeah, we got it home and all that. But we were I was just like, what the fuck? And so we tried asking people for a jump. And normally, you know, if you have tattoos and they're just normal people traveling that don't have tattoos, you're going to intimidate them a little bit, and they're just probably going to get in their car and like not say anything. I get it. But we ended up calling AAA. They came out, jumped us, and the dude just left. Right. So he just dips off.
Not knowing if it like actually, if you guys are actually able to leave. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're driving off again, and it died again. So we were like, okay, what the fuck can we do? So our guitarist, he had 3 AAA calls that year, and this is the second one that we're using. And so this guy comes and he's like, all right, you got to leave the trailer here, and then we'll tow the truck over here, get the battery replaced, and then, you know, you can drive back, pick them up. And it was like maybe a 20-minute drive away. So my friend who was filling in on bass, and then our drummer, they stayed with the trailer at this rest stop, and then me and our guitarist went with the tow truck driver down to this O'Reilly's, and they replaced the battery. And I remember like when I turned the car back over, the shit was still on the dash, like the fucking like check engine light and all that. I was like, that's not normal, but like I've got my oil changed before and it didn't go away, so like we're fine. I think we were not fucking fine. We're driving back, and it's like dark now, and we're driving back, and I remember like kind of noticing the dash and the radio light like dimmed down a little bit, and I was like, I looked at Dakota and I was like, did you notice that, bro? And he was like, no. Yeah. And then immediately the fucking car just like shut off, and we're flying like 85 down the highway. And so at this point, like we're just rolling on wheels with no power. So we pull over to the side.
No power steering, probably.
No,
I assume.
nothing.
So it's
like I was having
fucked. Just even trying
dude,
to turn it. Yeah.
It was not fucking fun. Pull off to the side of the highway. We're at a part of the highway where like there's no like lights or anything. So it's just like we have no way to show that we're on the side of the highway.
Oh, and right. Then, the lights won't blink. There's
yeah, the lights won't work. And it's cold as fuck. And all of our like blankets and shit, I'm pretty sure at the time we're like in the trailer.
Yeah.
And so we were just kind of in a sticky situation. He called AAA for the 3rd time. And my phone ended up dying because we had to wait. So I was just on my phone. My phone died. I can't charge my phone. Then his phone died. We can't charge his phone. And it was like a 3-hour wait because I remember him like waking me up because I passed out. And we finally like get on the tow truck driver picks us up, hauls us back. My friend and our drummer had been in the rest stop bathroom using the fucking dryers to like keep their hands warm because it was so cold. And we didn't know what we were going to do because the car wouldn't fucking start. It was clearly like, I'm pretty sure it was the alternator that ended up having to be replaced.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I just told the driver, I was like, look, man, can you haul us into the closest like shop that can get this fixed? He told me he couldn't take a trailer, and I was like, we have weed and I'll give you $100. And he ended up taking the weed and the $100 and towed us into town. And then we had to wait, I think like a day. So we dropped Santa Cruz, and then we had LA the next day after that. So the car gets fixed. We haul ass to Los Angeles. It was like a movie scene. Pull up to the venue. Cold Shoulder had all of their gear already set up. We hop out, get on stage, and they take our car and like park it, and we ripped a fucking set and then just kept on. It was insane.
But like, yeah, it was one of those situations like that you're always like, could it be worse? And then life is like, yes, it can. It will.
It's gonna get worse, and here you fucking go.
Oh, you want to ask?
No car.
Hold on.
No sense of transportation. Yeah,
because
it was
I'm guessing at this point, right? At first, you're upset, but like, I don't know about you, but when so much happened, you don't have any reactions anymore. You're just like,
I was just, yeah. We were just kind of like,
Yeah, your soul leaves your body at a certain
yeah,
point. Yeah.
like it was literally like it is what it is situation.
yeah,
You know what
don't
I
have
mean? Like,
the
what else am I gonna
energy
do?
to be upset. You're at the point, like, I'm trying to be in your shoes, and like when when once again after all of that, it's just kind of shutting down, and you're on the highway. I would have been like, of course, yes.
Well,
It's
look,
just very laughable situation.
You're just like,
look, this is gonna turn into a whole "you have car problems" podcast. But I have another one for you. What
Let's
about
go.
3 cars to get to LDB?
Oh my god. Oh,
the
fuck.
problem podcast.
See, but here's the thing was that we were just going up there for the fest. So luckily nobody was playing that. But yeah, dude, we fucking put so many people into 3 cars and drove all the way from here to LDB. It was a big fucking like homie moment. And that, dude, I
No
love
car
that
problems.
memory.
I thought it was a car problem thing. I don't know the story.
No.
I was just
No.
tipped off that there was a
No,
three
we just
cars
fucking-
to LDB type story.
Bro,
to be told.
we piled people into our cars and just fucking dude, I shit you not, like one of my homies was like sitting like in the middle on the dash, and we had people in the back seat, we had us up front, the car in front of us was crammed with like 5 or 6 people. Like we fucking went up there and it was dope. It was a great time. That is one of my favorite memories ever.
How long ago was that? Which year was it?
So I still have frosted tips. So that had to have been
That gives us an idea.
that was probably I think like 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. One of those years. Yeah.
Late stage Omen. We'll call
Yeah,
it that,
yeah, that was like right when Omen was starting to like kind of close down a little bit.
It's crazy every time we have these conversations. I'm like, we kind of all went through the same steps. Like you mentioned you were skateboarding, right? I did that for like 6 years. Every time we talk with people, I'm like, we definitely all went. Like it's just like even that I had like the little, what do you call that? The
frosted
hair.
tips.
I had that too. It's just like it's crazy when you realize that every time you talk, you were maybe unique in something, or like you did something on you're like years later you're like, oh, okay, we were literally millions doing the same things. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I was big on skating in high school and shit. I skated all through my like younger years and shit, and then I
Changes
fucked my
your
knee up really
life,
bad.
right? Like it's such a different. Not to take it to, like, because I love talking about even to this day. Like I'm watching videos and stuff, but like it never really leaves you skateboarding. I realize like once you like it once, it's like you're always gonna like it. I still play Tony Hawk Underground, and for God's sake, on the first Xbox. So, but. Yeah. It's for someone who's more, like us, towards, loves music and stuff like that. Skateboard just makes more sense in general.
It ties in together.
It's just like,
it's a similar culture. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You can do so much with it, like it was such a blessing to be like 15 with my friends and be like, let's do a skate park, like let's do a park. I was terrible if you compare to the standards of today. My goal was just to go in gaps, right? I wanted to do the maximum stairs and stuff. Like I was watching Zero videos and I was like, I want to do the bigger gaps possible. Yeah. But it's I feel like I find a lot of similarities in terms of like when you do music, you have a lot of options. A bit of the same thing. You can skate in like 15 different kinds of ways. And I don't know, I think it's cool to notice that a lot of people in the scene or in deathcore and stuff, every time we have this, it really often comes up like, oh, with skateboarding. I'm like,
yeah, dude. And like I kind of can compare it to like, like I remember there at the park that I used to skate at here, like growing up, I remember olling my first 6 stair, and it was the same feeling as playing my first show. You know what I mean?
That
like it was
adrenaline rush
so
like,
fucking rewarding, but that adrenaline is just fucking just nuts, dude. It was awesome, man.
And again, it's kind of similar in terms of like you work so hard to nail that trick, right? But it's the same thing with shows. You've worked so hard on your music, and you worked really hard to make it happen.
Years for that 27-minute set, you know.
Yeah,
dude.
It's like, so it's your moment, right? So that's that. It's skateboarding. I don't know about you, but when it's crazy how time would stop when you're in the air. It's like there's nothing anymore that matters. It's like it's only, you don't think about anything. It's like it's cool for that. Which I guess is similar with shows, right? You're just in the moment, and it's like even if your car, it's kind of like it doesn't matter during that. It's just the moment.
Car's still running in the parking lot. You just black out for a few.
I had no car problems on a skateboard, bro.
There we go. It's never failed you. Hey, look, I've probably had more bearing problem, like break under me than times I've had to bring my car into the shop. But
exactly,
you know,
yeah,
a little less expensive to fix.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Skating when your tail is like, when your skateboard is like done.
You've run it through the ground.
It's fucking cooked. Yeah.
You're about you want to do it. It doesn't even follow your feet because like there's nothing left.
It's just so shot. Yeah.
You want to do like a flip trick, and you need to just put pressure on it. It becomes almost like a pressure flip because like there's no tail, so you go in the gap and you just kind of make it happen type thing.
Boom.
Exactly. Oh, that's crazy.
I think, okay, I want to touch on this because I think you share a similar sentiment. I feel
Another
like this
car
is something.
No,
Not a car thing. No, but I think one of the really fun parts of our conversation that we had with D from Peeling Flesh was his love for the OKC scene and the DIY aspect to it, and how a lot of it is kind of like just a big family. And I've noticed the same kind of thing kind of through your guys' social posts, the bands you guys support. And I'd love to maybe touch on, what your relationship with Backroom is, or has been, and maybe a little bit about, that whole part of the scene, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Steven, who runs Backroom Print Shop, he is one of my best friends. He kind of took me under his wing when I was a little bit younger and was a little bit of a troublemaker. And he kind of just would let me come to his shop and work with him. He would print bands merch out of his garage at his house. And so I've always just I say that I've worked with him since I was probably 15. I was probably 16. He was at my graduation from high school. So we've known each other for a while. But yeah, so
the proud father moment, but he's not the dad.
Dude, the picture of us, him just next to me, it's sick. But yeah, dude, I've been involved with Backroom and stuff since I was a teenager. And I still go up there and work to this day, not as much as I used to, just because touring is so prominent, but the scene, because
they put on shows too. They do more than just printing shirts, right?
Yeah. So the show thing kind of it started doing its own thing. I want to say 2 years ago now. Our friend Schwan moved here. And we had our friends in No Zodiac were coming through, and they needed a quick show set up last minute. And so they rented out this spot, and they ended up packing the fuck out. And then Chuan was just kind of we're just going to do this. And it became its own thing. And so now we have a VFW here that it's home base,
Any show you guys put through, that's where it's at, type of thing.
Typically, yeah. If they're I'm pretty sure I don't know all the logistics of it because they run everything. But I'm pretty sure if it doesn't make sense for Backroom, we have other promoters out here that will give that package to. But yeah, man, the Backroom shows are fucking insane now. It's kind of crazy seeing where it went in such a fast time period. We were there were like 40 to 60 kids at a show at this random warehouse in Southside OKC. And now we like pack it out. We pack a VFW out with like 300 to 500 kids. You know what I mean?
Insane. Yeah.
And it's just like Slam Fest, or not Slam Fest, but Peeling's homecoming show from their last headliner that they did. I was running doors and was like helping, like, you know, if you got pre-sales, go here. If you don't have tickets, you're gonna go this way. Have your ID ready. Blah blah blah. So I didn't really get to enjoy the sets as much because I was kind of making sure everything was like chill. But I remember closing those doors and I was standing outside talking to Steven, and I lit a cig, and it was like 5 seconds later, there were like 5 kids that came out with fucked up noses, their knee was fucked up, their arm was hurting. And I was like, dude, like that was like the entire, but it's like they fucking love that shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like they love it. You know what I mean? Like the next gen of like what Oklahoma hardcore is gonna be, like those kids put the fuck on for every fucking band. Like it doesn't matter like how many followers you have on Instagram or how many monthly listeners this band has or what the fuck ever. Like they don't give a fuck. They just want to come, they want to mosh, they want to buy merch, and then they want to go to the next show, you know? And I think that's like really, really, really cool to see, because I know it's crazy that you asked this, because I was talking to our bassist about it the other day, but like seeing these kids and like, you know, like kids will like come up to me and be like, I'm so stoked for this show that Cell's playing, or, you know, like blah, 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 blah. Like just being so like excited about stuff like that. Like I remember being that way as well. And it's cool to like, it's cool to see it like, it's hard to explain. It's just really, it's sick. And
it's a rare and special thing too, right? Like,
Yeah.
and not, I mean, there are few scenes that are like that, right? Like, you know, we always refer to like South Florida scene right now with all the deathcore revival stuff going on, but it's more than just that scene. It's just kind of like whatever fucking music goes on. If it's somewhat heavy, like screamo, emo, post-hardcore, deathcore, like whatever it is, like that's sort of like revival-esque, it's same kind of thing. Like the VFWs are fucking selling out on a Tuesday night. But those are like the scenes that you hear about, but there's like, those are very few and far between, right? There's probably like only a few scenes like that in all the US. So it's cool. Yeah. It's cool to see. And also like do you think there's a factor in there that like, I think a lot of bands from Oklahoma are blowing up, you know, in recent years. Like, do you think that factors into that as well? Because it's kind of just like rising everything at once. Because you said people don't necessarily really care about the numbers and stuff, but like it's kind of undeniable to see like a band like Peeling Flesh, you know, and the numbers they're pulling countrywide, you know, and then to maybe translate that to a hometown show.
I will say that like I know a lot of people travel to like. You can go to like this is a way that we like always say it is like you can go to a Peeling show anywhere and it's gonna be a fucking great time. You're gonna have a lot of fun. You might fucking get hurt a little bit, but fuck it. You know what I mean? There is nothing like a Peeling show at home. And I feel that way for every band. I feel that way about Cell. I feel that way about Inside You, Agony, Free for All. Like any band from here that has a home show, like it's worth it to travel and experience that. Because one, you're getting to see them like on their own fucking home turf, and two, the kids out here fucking mosh hard as fuck. Like it's an experience.
If you want like the full, if you want the full vibe, like that's the way to do it. I remember D telling us exactly that though. He was like, yeah, we've got all this shit coming up, but like we're stoked for this one show we're gonna play back home, because like that's where it's at. That's where people show up. That's where it's a surreal thing to see, like, because you know there was like a point in time like COVID and everything was happening where like it kind of felt like everything was just gonna like fall off, man. And like thank God for the people that we had to like help like kind of revive that a little bit. But it was like it was just like this feeling, I think, that like Steve-O and Twan had, like if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it now.
and look at where it's gone. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's fucking badass, man. And I'm really, really happy that like, it's in like my time as far as like being a person and being alive. Like I get to experience that, especially with my like really good friends. But like also like I'm excited to see that shit when I'm fucking in my 40s and in my 60s, like just to tat it up like ex deathcore vocalists, like fucking like, yeah, I remember these fucking show, like I'm ready for it, man. It's fucking, it's really cool.
And it's also because like another thing that we talk pretty often is for a scene to really be alive and thrive, you need these young people being hyped up, because like, I don't want to say we're old, but we kind of are. So it's like if it only relies on us, it's gonna die eventually. That's the truth. And we've seen that with some whatever kind of
scenes or genres.
Scenes. Yeah, we've seen that sometimes like it's not resonating with a new audience. So over time, it's just kind of gone type thing. Like I don't have any example. I'm not going to talk about disco, but like what I mean is we definitely need these, these people like 16, 15 and just like exactly like we were doing basically when deathcore was starting to be a thing. So
I think it's kind of like what you said, Skyler, too. Like, you remember a time when you were starstruck by bands, right? But we're not like that anymore because we're not 15 anymore, right? So the relationship we have with the bands playing, like the bands that we go see live is inherently going to be different too, right? But there is something to the youth coming into shows and like really fucking with something, right?
Yeah,
There's almost like
absolutely.
the most diehard fans, though it's those kids,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's definitely like just even being like outside of like being in a band that's like active or what the fuck ever, like it being like just being like a showgoer and like just seeing it for like what it's worth. Like there's nothing like it, man. Like I have always like loved music. Like music is like my entire fucking point of existence to me, And like obviously like I have like my home and my family and my relationship and my dogs, but like I fucking love music and I love that other people love that as much as I do, So it's really, really cool.
To be honest, with just everything, like we're laughing about the car things and stuff like that, but like the truth is there's a lot of people after going through stuff like that who would just kind of stop, right? And we have people who actually completely just went out of it afterwards. So just you still being here, and it's cool because like you not only that, but your band is doing extremely well at the moment. But like just the fact that you're still here, grinding and touring and doing that, I think is a statement and a testament to your love for music in itself. Personally, that's how I see it.
100% for sure.
Maybe to kind of put a bow tie on OKC real quick. Do you care to talk a little bit, if you can and if you want to? But I've seen a lot of for Clancy and for Hayden in posts, whether it be from you guys from Peeling Flesh. Like, what's the story there? Do you mind kind of explaining to us?
So Clancy was my dad. He passed away a while ago. But that was like what I wrote The Unbearable Form all about, was just like kind of like processing all of that. Really, really, really tough time. Losing a parent is fucking tough and it sucks, but I got through it. And so every time, there's one certain song, Mirrors of My Damnation. Every time we play that song, I always dedicate it to my dad. And Hayden was one of our scene's very, very close friends, and he passed away, unfortunately. And anything like Oklahoma does, like it is always going to be for fucking Hayden, Cell does our own thing for my dad, but like Oklahoma is for Hayden, and I stand with that forever, so.
And I feel like in a way it keeps the legacy of a person alive too.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Like I am like personally like one of those people, like I'll still like find myself having conversations about both of them, you know, and it like I just I don't want people to be forgotten. That's like my main thing, especially
Mhm.
someone who, I mean, for me was my dad. Like he was very important to me, and Hayden was a good friend of mine as well. And I don't want anyone to ever like not know who those two people were. So
Well, I think it
That's cool.
definitely
Yeah. Well,
it works. By the way, that's the way to keep someone alive in a way. It
yeah,
is that as long as you keep talking about people or remind or just like a memory and stuff like that, that's the way to. And I understand why sometimes people kind of just every time they think about it, maybe they're sad and so they kind of stuff. But I feel like the best way really to honor and keep someone around is by bringing back those amazing memories or just
yeah,
talk about or stuff even that makes you laugh, right? Like that
yeah,
just like a funny silly thing. It keeps for me that's kind of how I see, I always saw it like that way. It keeps
yeah,
people alive in the
yeah.
best way. So
Absolutely. The soul lives on. You know what I mean? You just
yeah,
kind of gotta fucking not let them be forgotten. And that is
yeah.
something that like I know me and my people will never do. So
That's and I
yeah.
know everybody has their own belief. I'm personally very spiritual and stuff. So to me, when you tell me that live, you're like this one is for my dad. Like the way I picture it is like he's there on right as your
Yeah.
perfect. So that can be way more powerful than what people think. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's really it's something hard to explain, but you can feel it type thing. I don't know if it
Yeah.
makes sense.
No,
Okay.
I know exactly what you're trying to say.
I don't know how to put it. I think obviously everyone deals with grief differently, but I think there's like the way you guys display it and that the scene kind of displays it. For Hayden as well, like it again kind of evokes to me that whole family aspect of Oklahoma and like just everyone being kind of ride or die for the scene, like and always putting other people on. And I don't know, again, like that's like such a rare it's such a rare thing, like because I kind of feel like for you it's kind of like it's expected. It's like, oh yeah, of course I would do that, or people in Oklahoma is like, yeah, of course we're gonna have the name live
Right.
on and keep telling the stories and stuff. But again, that's like few and far between. That's not like most scenes aren't like that. So I don't know. I just think there's something special where you're at. There's and the people that make it up. It's super cool to hear, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There are a lot of amazing people that, that are behind the scenes that help just make this scene here like thrive. Backroom is like a fucking unit, and we all work very well, and we work accordingly, and we make sure everything goes smooth always, and we just kind of keep out and like keep up and like make sure everybody is good. And life happens, man. I mean, everybody gets busy sometimes with their own shit, and that's just normal. And but it's like we all like when there's a show, like we all meet up, and it's back to it. So that's something that I love about everybody here. And yeah, shout out Oklahoma always.
Hell yeah, man.
Oh yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about what you guys have coming up. What can you talk about? What's
Yeah, no, what were you gonna say?
well, I was just gonna say, I've heard some music. Yeah, heard some music.
Yeah.
And just before
we can say that much.
Yeah.
before starting, it was so sick what I heard today that seriously, right after listening, I took my guitar and I started writing. I was so like into it that I started just playing music because like it puts me in like I was headbanging alone here at my place. Like it's extremely sick, man. I just wanted to say that it's incredible, really.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got like some new stuff dropping early. I wouldn't say early next year, but we've got new music done. Tours are in the talks, kind of. I mean, it's December, so everything kind of like starts to like slow down just a little bit. But there are things being talked about that I'm really fucking excited for. We've just been, I mean, we just played No Sleep, so that was like our last show for the year. Yeah,
right. That was this weekend. How was that?
It's fucking crazy.
The footage looked
crazy.
Fucking insane for any band that I was checking out in the stories and stuff. It looked fucking massive.
Yeah, it was like we got there. I think at like, I want to say 11. So we were driving down the night before. Like I said, we were following Peeling, and there was like a fucking dead animal on the road. They hit it, and then we had to like pull off, and it had fucked their tire rod up, and so we ended up just crashing at this Love's with them, and then we got up, and I remember it was like 4 a.m. and Soto, I told Soto, I was like, I'm gonna sleep, and then we'll go to this O'Reilly's, and I like wake up to my phone like buzzing on my chest, I'm passed out. And I look out the window, and it's like drizzling outside, and Soto's just standing outside of the window, like ready to go. And then we went and got the tire rod, and he got it fixed, and then we boosted down there. Gloomy day, but the show was fucking phenomenal. It was a really, really cool fucking time. So
what was it? It was like a brewery, but like a big open fucking space for whatever reason. Like what?
It was.
What was
like It was just like, it was like a big warehouse, like an empty warehouse. And in the back, they had a bar just for like the beer that they make, I guess. And then you had the merch tables all along the wall. And then the rest of it was just empty fucking floor space. And they had like a taco vendor there in the back with the bar too. But yeah, it was fucking packed. It was crazy. And like, I would be running back and forth to merch and be like, excuse me, like squeezing through all these people and like maneuvering my way around. Yeah, that was like a really, really cool way to end the year for sure.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of fests, I did want to talk about we were talking a bit off stream about getting into Canada. I originally had questions about this fest in general because it was such a random, like, why in Ontario all these bands that are seemingly not even touring to this fest, but kind of going to this thing. Like what was the deal? And you talked to me about getting without a passport. So what's the story there?
So by the way, when I tell everybody this story, they're like appalled. Like they it's like hard for them to like believe it. Just kind of based off of like how I fucking look, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so we were on that run with Mouth War and Tend to the Chest. And I guess there's like two ports that you can go in from.
Yeah.
Port Huron. And then I don't remember what the other one is called, but Mouth War had gone to that one and unfortunately couldn't get into the fest. And so Gabe called me and he was like, hey, I know you don't have your passport. Like I doubt it's going to happen, essentially. And I was like, well, I mean, we're already fucking pulling up. Like, I'm just going to try it. You know, when the worst that happens is they search our van and then fucking tell us to go back. So Skyler and Cam are in the back. There's another Skyler and Cell, by the way.
Okay.
Skyler and Cam are in the back, and then me and Ty are up front. And I asked Sky, I'm like, which one do I go to? And he's like, go here. I was like, okay. So we pull up and we're behind this car, and then they let them through, and then it's our turn. And I'm like shaking because I've always heard bad things about the fucking Canadian border. And so I pull up.
Hey, it's both of ours as border, okay?
Yeah, the one coming back was a pain in the ass too, but well, I wouldn't say a pain in the ass. He just started. I'll explain. But we pull.
He was probably wondering why you didn't have a passport too.
So we pull up. I got everybody's passport cards, and I pull up, and I'm just like happy go lucky, like, how's it going? And he like looks pissed off immediately, and I'm like, all right, maybe I should just like chill. I hand him everybody's cards, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, like I don't have my passport, but I heard that you can get in with just a license and a birth certificate. And I have my birth certificate as well. So I handed him that. He asked what we were doing. You know, I told him we were playing a fest up there in Ontario. We'd be back that night, blah, blah, blah. The guy looks my name up, I guess, and asked if there were any firearms in the vehicle. I said no. And then he asked how many people were in the vehicle. I said 4. They didn't even come around, look in the van to see if I was like telling the truth. He just handed me everything back and said, all right, have a good day, and just sent us through. Right? It was, and I was like shaking.
Just like, what?
Like the one thing that I noticed is when we got in, my signal was gone. Like it was gone. So I couldn't like call anyone to tell them until we got to the venue. And then driving back through, Skyler was driving, and he like wakes me up. I'm on the bench behind him, and he's like, hey, like we're pulling back up. And we pull up, and he's like, I hear the guy like, where are you coming from? This guy's like, Ontario. He's a mega stoner. Like him and Cam and Ty smoke so much weed, it's crazy. And then he's like, he said before, and I was like, why did he say and then he's like, where are you guys from? And he said Oklahoma. And I was like, I was like,
where you come from, is it?
Dude, yeah.
Not knowing specifically where you were in a different country for less than 24 hours, I can understand the a little bit more there, but where you come from?
Yeah. And so I like noticed that, and I'm like this behind him, bro. Like my hands are on my head, and I was like, oh fuck, like we're gonna get searched here for sure. And so I don't know what it was, but like my gut was just like, talk to this guy. And I lean over and I'm like, hey, what's up, man? We're a band called Cell from Oklahoma City. We just played in Ontario. We're going to Indiana to play a fest tomorrow. We got to be there early for load in. And he was like, how much money did you make? And I think I told him like, we just like donated it to charity or some shit. Yeah. And he just handed it back and sent us through. So it was like we almost got fucked. And then luckily I like say, I don't know what it was, because I'm like the only one who's like blasted in the band and shit. Like
and honestly, even just having someone like kind of creep up like that in the van could have been enough for them to be like, yo, like stay in your fucking seat, like what the fuck are you doing type thing. You know?
Yeah. And like luckily that didn't happen, because like it was pretty late too. Like it was probably like 2 or 3 a.m. So yeah, I mean we got lucky. I love Canada, dude.
Come to think of it, I think at night I've never had any issues both ways, regardless of the scenario, band or personal. Yeah. Like at that time, they're just kind of like there's like one dude working, and he's probably like, I don't want to do this whole thing.
Dude,
come on in, boys.
With that.
Welcome home, brother.
All of my friends who have gone up there, and you know, like they always tell me that they get sent to secondary, and it's not like they get searched like thoroughly all the time. They'll just peek in and look at you and then make sure it's like everything that you're telling the driver is telling them is true. But like, it was a blessing, and now I have a passport on the way, so it's like so we'll probably be back up there. I'm gonna assume next year for sure. But
that's awesome. Well, and then how was that fest? Because that seemed like a pretty
great.
Stacked lineup too, and had like a bunch of, to me, like seemingly random ass fucking bands for like for like the lineup was kind of all over the place, but I mean it seemed cool.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome, man. Like there were a lot of people, like, because I if I'm not mistaken, on our like Spotify for artists saying like a lot of our listeners are from Canada. So there were a lot of people that came there, and like I got to chat with, and everybody else got to chat with, and it was cool meeting people who said they had been like waiting to see us live for so long, and like it was a good time. And then there was also a band that I was really excited to see from out there called Hell's Reach. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them.
I don't know them.
Sick ass fucking band. But they had played the day before, so I was bummed out. And then I got double fucking stoked because they played a secret set the day that we played. So I was like, I should just move to fucking Canada, bro. Like I should just come up here.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was cool. It was a good time.
That's awesome, man. Fuck. Well, yeah, I don't know if I mean, I think that'd be a great place to kind of to leave things at. I don't know if you've got anything you'd want to let the people know in terms of I don't know, where people can follow the band, or anything you'd want to plug before we hop off.
Yeah, dude. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and it's at cellmetal_. Shout out Oklahoma. Shout out Backroom. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This has been awesome. I had a good time.
Of course,
Had a
man.
blast,
We'll have to have you back on. We
Yep.
had some more
absolutely.
stuff we could have talked about here, and I'm especially, you know, once you guys put out some new music, I'd love to dig into all
Absolutely,
that as well.
man.
So
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully there
I'll be
won't
good.
be other
Yeah, no
breaks
more-
with
no
the
more
van.
incidents,
and- hopefully.
Yeah,
But if there is, we're going to address everything here. So
I'm gonna blame
just
it
so you know.
all on you guys.
oh, fair. Look,
Fair.
we'll take it. We'll take
Fair.
it. It's the Canadian, it's the French
Yeah.
Canadians' fault. Fine, we'll take it.
We'll take it.
All right, man.
Thanks,
Well,
man.
have yourself a great night, man. Thanks so much.
well.
We'll talk to you soon. All right.
Bye.
Take care.